My name is Pat Chase, and I have been a quilter about almost 50 years, so.
Wow. My name is Linda Denner. I live in Warrensburg, New York. I've started quilting in 1974.
My name is Susan Bishop, and I've been quilting since I was 16. My grandmother taught me to sew when I was 6 years old. She had one of the old singers with a knee pedal, and my feet didn't touch the floor, but I could make that thing go. And I started with a very simple quilt when I was 16, and I've been doing it ever since.
When my youngest started kindergarten, I decided I was going to do something for myself. And so I took a evening BOCES class with Maureen Monahan Marino Chase, and that's history. I continued on, and Maureen invited me to the Wings Falls Quilting Guild that they had just started, and I joined, and I'm still a member of the Quilt Guild. So, yeah.
Since I'd been sewing since I was 6, I always loved fabric and textiles, and I just liked the math part of it, geometry. I would often see my geometry teacher around town, and I would tell her thank you because I use it almost every day when I quilt, and she was thrilled with that. I guess most of her students don't ever tell her that they liked it. And I just love the putting it together, and also the friendships that you form with the other quilters is very important.
It was all mostly hand sewing, hand quilting back then. And I got a part-time job at the local elementary school. And on my lunch hour, I would eat my lunch and sit there and hand sew on something. And the teachers kept asking me, teach us, teach us. And I said, oh, I can't teach that. My husband said, sure you can. So I invited him to my house in my dining area, and I had a class for him. And that kept evolving to more classes and more classes, and I outgrew my dining area quickly. So we have a garage transformed into a family room, so I started out there, and my classes just kept going and going and going. So, yeah.
Oddly enough, my father taught me how to use a sewing machine because his father and all of his brothers and sisters in the family were tailors. So maybe I came to it genetically. I was introduced to it having a background in dressmaking, and which is fairly common at the bicentennial time. I really got interested in it, and once I tried it out, I was hooked for life. That was it.
I was always doing crafts. I like to be busy with my hands, and it just was pretty addicting right from the minute I started. So, it was fun. Yeah.
The Guild was formed to develop an appreciation for the art of quilting. A nonprofit organization, membership is open to all who share a love of quilting. Many have joined the Guild to learn, teach, and share in the joy of quilting, and that's pretty much what we do.
We used to have a lot of memberships coming down up from the Albany area, and as far north as I would say, all the way up to farther reaches of Schoon Lake. But now it's more localized. I'm coming down from Warrensburg. Our meeting now is in South Glens Falls. We used to meet here at the Methodist Church, right in the heart of Glens Falls, but I guess they had other plans for their room, and eventually we found a home down there in the First Methodist Church in South Glens Falls. But we still consider ourselves basically a Glens Falls club.
When we founded the Guild, there were 5 of us. There was Carol Mackey, Karen Elgin, Maureen Monahan Chase, and Carolyn Accardi, and myself. And we had workshops up at Maureen's house in her camp on Lake Sunnyside. in 1977, and then we wanted to see if there were more people out there just like us that liked to do this. And we had enough people that they wanted to meet that following September, and we started the guild in 1977 with a few members, and we met downstairs at the Crandall Library in the old auditorium. And it grew and grew and grew. At one point we were over 250 members. And we kind of, it got a little unwieldy, and then we split into smaller groups. But a lot of the friendships, they're still good today. They're wonderful women, and I just love hanging out with them.
They'll be celebrating their 50th anniversary next year, I believe. And the membership has changed quite a bit. When my husband and I retired, I should say he retired. I never retired. But in 1995, I joined Wings Falls Quilting Guild. And it's changed a lot over the years. When I first joined, they had a membership of about 250, and now it's been reduced down to about 80 members. But they're very active and dedicated members, and they're all ages, young and, you know, us seniors.
Over 80 members as of today, and we focus a lot on our community service. We do quilts for the Wait House, we do walker bags for the senior centers, we do for a lot of the foster agencies in Warren and Saratoga counties. We do little stuffed animals with quilts for the kids. And just any project that we can think of that comes up when there's a need. And a lot of times people will contact us and go, what do you have? You know, do you have any quilts? And we're more than happy to give them away, because we all have more than enough fabric and quilts.
Our guild does so much. We have community service, and we make bibs for the nursing homes. We make this morning I was working on some preemie bent blankets we make. We make large quilts to give to people who have had fires or been in accidents, and we make walker bags for people in the nursing home to put on their walkers. I'm just trying to think. We do an awful lot.
I know our local guild, Wings Falls Quilting Guild, at the last membership meeting, which was last Saturday, our community service member or chairman mentioned that this year our club has donated over 100 quilts to the community. And that includes small quilts to foster care for children. We make quilts for infants, for preemies, and give them to the hospital and Albany Med. Basically, anybody in need who calls and notifies the organization that, you know, they're in need of a little comfort, we whip out a quilt. And the community service group in our guild is very organized. They make up kits, so when you attend a meeting, you can just pick up a pre-cut kit, bring it back the following month. Somebody else will pick it up, like myself, who enjoys the quilting aspect of it, which is the final stitching that holds all of the top, the batting, and the layer together. Another person might come along and bind it, and you know, within a month we've got something that can go back into the community, and the membership enjoys it. I mean, it's not that they make less of an effort for these people. It allows them an outlet to continue to do what they love. We also do a service every year for Hole in the Woods, where we interact with children that have experienced a family loss, and we make a quilt for them, and that is every year for the past, I think they've done it for 17, 18 years. Wow. And they do it in the fall. with the children engaged with it. The children make a center block, coloring, and making some kind of significant adaptation of the loss. And then they take the quilt home at the end of the day.
We do have a raffle quilt every year, and I've gotten to work on a lot of those. But mostly it's the community service that we do for other people. Quilters are a very giving group. And when there's a call for something, we're only too happy to pitch in and make whatever they need. And that's the part I like the best, and all the friendships. I've made some very, very good friends that I've had as long as I've known the Guild.
Well, I think it's very creative. And of course, being frugal by nature, I had all of these odds and ends left over from clothing construction that I thought I could then use, to make quilts. Of course, they were incredibly ill-suited to the quilting world, but eventually, materials and tools appeared to make it a lot easier. And I had an aptitude at the sewing machine at that point, so I progressed very quickly. And I took my first quilting class at a shop down on Long Island, and within 2 weeks the shopkeeper asked me if I'd like to teach, which I was amazed. Her idea of my teaching was attending a morning class, and then in the evening I would reiterate everything that she said in the morning. That didn't work out well, but but it was a growing experience, and I enjoyed it. And then over the years I taught adult education classes for over 20 years on Long Island, and it morphed into having a column in a national quilting magazine for 18 years. And then I eventually after magazine work, I graduated and gained my confidence to submit a manuscript to the American Quilting Society. And they accepted my book. And the book was based on how quilters can finish everything, because most quilters didn't have a background in construction. So they would make a block, and if they didn't, intend to make a huge project, they really didn't know what to do with it, how to convert it into a pillow, a garment, whatever. And I thought that would be, a good theme for a book. And then I got even braver and submitted a manuscript not a manuscript, but an outline to Random House for a baby quilts book. And I was even more shocked when the editor called and said, about your book. Well, I had an outline. I didn't have anything more than that. But by the time I had an appointment at Random House, I had a very detailed outline and, the beginnings of a book. So I've been very fortunate. I did 3 books for Random House, and became a educational consultant for Pfaff sewing machines, and it really blossomed into a exciting and enjoyable career.
I like doing what they call sampler quilts, and it's a different block each one, because I get bored doing the same thing over and over and over again, so I like to change. So sampler quilts are my favorite. So
I started out as a traditional quilter, and I actually was in the era of starting with cardboard templates and scissors and pencils, and now we have rotary cutters and machines that will cut your pieces for you and all that good stuff, which is amazing. I do own some of those toys too. But I like to do a lot of hand applique. And the one I'm working on now is a Baltimore album quilt. They were made in Baltimore, Maryland in the mid-1800s, with all the baskets and urns and flowers and wreaths on them. And this has been a very extensive project, shall we say. It's kind of vintage now. I inked the dates on the blocks, and the first block is dated 1990.
So you've been working on it for some time.
So I've been working on it a while. It's all being hand quilted now, but I want to finish it. I have a deadline Our 50th anniversary as a guild is coming up in 2027, and I want to put it in that show. So I better get a move on.
I guess I'm a traditionalist more than anything else, but I always tempted by what other people are showing. You know, it's like going into a candy store, and I think that's why women join guilds. It's not that you have to come into a club with a certain level of expertise. You can know nothing about, you know, how to actually make a quilt, and we'll teach you. But the best part of every meeting is what we call show and tell, where members bring the work that they've done, and it's just irresistible. You want to do everything that they've done. So it keeps you inspired and it keeps you involved.
It's kind of like kindergarten, but we have show and tell every meeting, which is one of the best parts because everybody lines up, and then you've got your arm load or your tote bag or whatever, and you bring up your quilts, and everybody is always so complimentary, and we're just in awe of the skills of our members that do that, because we all do different things. Some people like machine applique, some people like doing it by hand, some like both, like I do, and people's color choices and their fabrics and what they did, and usually it's for a family member or a special occasion or something like that, so you know they're giving it away. Is a lot of times we won't post those pictures on Facebook because it's going to be a secret gift. So we can't do that.
I machine quilt, and I machine quilt for other people, so that, you know, you get to a point that you've exhausted your family and friends by making quilts and giving them to them, but you still have a desire to make these things. So working on other people's quilts and helping them finish gives me an outlet for that, and I really enjoy it.
Since I've got my long arm machine, I really like looking at a quilt and doing custom quilting on it. I used to do it as a business, but now I just do it for a few friends, and then I let them, whatever the quilt would have cost, they donate to a charity of their choice, so we pay it forward that way too. But I like to look at a quilt, and they usually just hand them over to me and go, do whatever you want on it, and I'm like, yes, that'll be great. Yes, I actually have two daughters. The older, both of them were graphic designers. My older daughter went back to St. Rose for her master's in art education, and she taught at Queensberry School for a while. Now she homeschools my grandchildren, who both like to quilt and know how to use my long arm machine and go shopping in my fabric stash, and they've made projects for family and friends and things like that. And my youngest daughter is a graphic designer for Zippo, and she is my quilting one. My older daughter will come in my house and go, oh, I like that, can I have it? And my younger daughter will go, how did you make that? I want to make one. So I figure I'm running at 50% is good.
I saw through the years the difference in fabrics, how they changed, and they, you know, kept on improving and improving and just got more beautiful. And then when I started, there was no rotary cutter or rulers. My husband used to buy sheets of plexiglass, cut them into 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 widths, and we'd sell them as a set. And but then new rulers came out, the rotary cutter, and now the long arm sewing machines are just amazing. I don't have one though.
This was a quilt that I made, and it's a Adirondack theme quilt. Can I hold it up like this to the camera?
Absolutely. That is beautiful.
Thank you. So it one of the largest quilt shows in the upstate New York and Vermont area was the Vermont Quilt Festival, which went on for about 45 years, and then due to COVID, it never really came back. Unfortunately, vendors changed their focus rather than to on live shows like that. they started doing online offerings, and I think that contributed to it. And this was entered in the Vermont Quilt Festival and took a ribbon.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
These two pieces were what you learned if you came to my shop to take a first class. Can you see them on there?
Mm-hmm.
And what it was is you learn to do patchwork in this block here, and then you learned a little bit of applique, and then you did your own quilting.
And the nice thing about clubs such as ours is that the only standard for that friendship is an interest in that craft. So you make friends with people that aren't on the same socioeconomical level as yourself, nor the same educational level. And yet, you know, you can still span all of those differences and have a really good relationship with them.
I always have a friendship group going at my house, so we get together once a week and sit and sew and chat, and
Very nice. So you host your own little quilting bee almost every week.
yeah. I've had several of them over the years, different people, but I've made so many friends throughout the years. So
Very nice. So a large community of quilters.
they're like my family. Yeah.
It's very calming. I mean, working with your hands, I think, it brings you to a quieter time of the day. It's soothing. I mean, we have kind of a hectic lifestyle, and certainly issues that come up in the community and the greater community. It's nice to have a quiet time where you can just sit, collect your thoughts, let the worries kind of pass you by, and just work with a needle and thread.
Everybody's welcome in the guild. If you have questions, if you're stuck on a quilt or something that you're doing, just come and check it out. And we always have, sometimes we have a guest fee if it's a paid speaker, but a lot of times our members will volunteer to teach or whatever, and it's free. Just come and check it out. We're very happy to have people come, and you can find us on Facebook under Wings Falls Quilters Guild. And all of our pictures and everything are on there. You can contact us, and we'd love to have you come. We like to bring other people into the fold, so to speak.
Yes.
So, we know you're out there. Come on and join us.